The email from Emma sits in my inbox like a ticking bomb. 5 years of silence, and now she wants to talk? My hands shake as I scroll through her desperate words, the familiar ache in my burn scars flaring up like they always do when I think about that family. I push back from my desk at the physical therapy clinic, where I've just finished treating another burn patient. Ironic how life works out sometimes. Dr. Chen, your next patient is ready, my receptionist calls, but I can barely focus. Emma's words keep jumping out at me. Please, we need your help. Sarah's been born with severe burns. You're the best in the field. I know we don't deserve it. My stepsister's right about one thing. They don't deserve my help. I look down at my hands, running my thumb over the rough patches that no amount of surgery could completely smooth away. Most days, I can almost forget they're there. Almost. But some nights, I still wake up feeling the searing heat of that iron, hearing Sandra's cold voice telling the emergency room staff I did it to myself. I take a deep breath, trying to push away the memory of that night before prom. I've built a good life now. I'm respected in my field. I help people, and I've mostly made peace with what happened. But seeing Emma's name in my inbox brings it all rushing back. The constant put-downs, the endless chores, the way Sandra turned my father against me with her lies, and finally, the night that changed everything. My phone buzzes with a text from my dad. It's the first I've heard from him in months. Emma told me she reached out. Please, honey. It's about the baby. Another message follows quickly. Sandra's a mess. We all made terrible mistakes. Just hear them out? I almost laugh at that. Mistakes? Is that what we're calling deliberately pressing a hot iron into someone's palms now? The worst part wasn't even the physical pain. It was standing there at Emma's prom wearing those long white gloves, serving punch to people who had no idea what was hidden underneath. Every time I handed someone a cup, Sandra would watch me with this satisfied little smile, like she'd finally put me in my proper place. My next patient's file sits on my desk. Another burn victim, a young girl who got too close to a campfire. These are the cases I specialize in now, helping people recover from the kind of injury I know all too well. The irony isn't lost on me that I've built a career out of the very thing that was meant to break me. I open Emma's email again, forcing myself to read it carefully this time. The details about her daughter's condition are heart-wrenching. Born with severe burns from a rare condition, needing specialized care that few doctors can provide. Care that I'm known for. She's even attached photos of little Sarah wrapped in bandages that are all too familiar to me. My office window overlooks the hospital's burn unit where I do most of my work. Sometimes, on tough days, I stand here and remind myself how far I've come from that terrified 16-year-old girl who couldn't even tell the truth about her own injuries. Now I'm the one other doctors consult when they have difficult cases. The irony that Sandra's granddaughter needs exactly the kind of help that only I can provide feels like the universe's idea of a joke. Another text from my father. We're desperate, honey. Sarah needs the best, and that's you. Please just talk to them. I close my eyes, remembering the last time I saw them all. The day I left for college with my scholarship paperwork clutched in my bandaged hands. Sandra had tried to block even that escape, but my guidance counselor had finally seen through the perfect stepmom act. Now here they are, 5 years later, begging for the help of the person they worked so hard to tear down. My receptionist knocks gently. Dr. Chen, should I reschedule your afternoon appointments? I look at my hands again, then at the photo of little Sarah in my inbox. She's innocent in all this, just like I was. No, I tell her, standing up and straightening my lab coat, but I need you to make one addition to my schedule. Tell Emma Watson I'll see her and her daughter for a consultation. Tomorrow at 9. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's showing them exactly who you've become despite their best efforts to break you. Walking into my childhood home feels like stepping into a time capsule. The same floral wallpaper that Sandra picked out still lines the hallway, though it's faded now. Family photos dot the walls, mostly of Emma at various events, with me lurking in the background when I'm present at all. I remember the day Sandra moved in, how she rearranged everything to suit her taste, including me. I was 15 when Dad brought her home, still grieving Mom's death just 8 months earlier. She'll be good for us, he'd promised, his eyes bright with hope. And Emma's just a year older than you. You'll be like sisters. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Those first few weeks, I tried so hard to make it work, to welcome this ready-made family into our lives. The changes started small, so subtle that Dad never noticed. First, it was my chores doubling while Emma's disappeared. She's studying for her SATs, Sandra would explain, or she has dance practice. Then my bedroom, the one Mom had helped me paint yellow the summer before she died, was given to Emma because she needs more closet space for her competitions. I was moved to the small guest room next to the laundry room, where the dryer's constant rumbling kept me up at night. Sandra had a way of making everything sound reasonable, logical. When she threw out my old stuffed animals, she claimed they were gathering dust and affecting Emma's allergies. When she insisted I quit soccer because she couldn't drive me to practice, she said it was because I needed to focus on my grades. Every time I tried to tell Dad, she'd already laid the groundwork, painting me as dramatic, attention-seeking, struggling to adjust to change. "Your father's been through so much," she'd say, her voice dripping with concern. "We don't want to burden him with petty complaints, do we?" And so I stayed quiet, watched as she slowly transformed our home into a shrine to Emma's achievements. My art projects disappeared from the fridge, replaced by Emma's report cards. My school events went unattended because they clashed with Emma's competitions. The worst part was how Emma just accepted it all, basking in the preferential treatment like she deserved it. She wasn't cruel, not exactly. She just never spoke up, never questioned why I was the one always serving dinner or doing the laundry. She'd sometimes give me these looks, almost apologetic, but they'd vanish the moment Sandra appeared. Standing in the hallway now, I spot a new photo I haven't seen before. It's Emma's wedding, the one I wasn't invited to 3 years ago. She's beaming in a white dress, Sandra and Dad on either side of her. They look like the perfect family. My throat tightens as I notice the white gloves Emma's wearing in the photo. Designer ones, nothing like the plain pair Sandra forced me to wear at prom. I wonder if she ever thinks about that when she puts on gloves, if she remembers watching me serve punch while hiding my bandaged hands. The sound of footsteps pulls me from my thoughts. "Hey, sweetheart." Dad appears at the end of the hall, looking older than I remember. His hair's gone completely gray now. "Thank you for coming." He moves to hug me, but stops short when I step back. The hurt in his eyes might have moved me once, but I remember too many times when he wasn't there when I needed him. "I'm here for Sarah," I say quietly, my voice steady. "Not for any of you." He nods, shoulders slumping. "They're in the living room. She's having a rough day with the pain." As I follow him down the hall, I hear a baby crying and Sandra's voice trying to soothe her. My hands throb with phantom pain, remembering a different kind of crying that Sandra ignored. But I straighten my spine and lift my chin. I'm not that helpless teenager anymore. I'm Doctor Chen now, and I'm here to do my job, nothing more. The universe really does have a twisted sense of humor sometimes. The living room still smells like Sandra's lavender candles, but now there's the sharp scent of medical supplies mixed in. Baby Sarah lies in a specialized bassinet, her tiny body wrapped in bandages that I know all too well. Emma hovers nearby, dark circles under her eyes betraying sleepless nights. Sandra sits in her favorite armchair, the one I wasn't allowed to sit in, looking smaller somehow, her perfectly maintained appearance showing cracks. "Thank you for coming," Emma whispers, her voice cracking. She looks different from the popular girl who once watched me serve punch at her prom. Motherhood and worry have stripped away her carefully maintained facade. Sarah whimpers, and Emma's hands shake as she tries to adjust the bandages. I notice she's not wearing her wedding ring. Interesting. I move forward, slipping into my professional role. "Let me see her chart." My voice is calm, clinical. I've treated hundreds of babies with burns, but looking at Sarah's condition makes my stomach twist. Her case is severe, exactly the type I've become known for handling. The irony isn't lost on me that the skills I developed because of Sandra's cruelty might be her granddaughter's best hope. As I examine Sarah, my mind drifts back to that day before prom. I'd been ironing Emma's expensive dress, a task Sandra insisted only I could be trusted with. The doorbell rang, startling me, and I knocked over a glass of water, just a tiny splash on the dress's hem. I remember freezing, knowing what was coming. Sandra had been looking for an excuse, and I'd given her one. She needs specialized care, I explain, keeping my eyes on Sarah. The type of burns she has are complex. They'll require multiple surgeries, intensive physical therapy. I pause, looking directly at Sandra for the first time. It's going to be a long, painful process. There's no quick fix. Sandra flinches at the word painful, her eyes dropping to my hands. I see the moment she notices I'm not wearing gloves today. The scars are visible, shiny and pink in places, rough and mottled in others. Professional success has given me the confidence to stop hiding them. Whatever it costs, Sandra starts, but I cut her off. Money isn't the issue. I need to know that you'll follow my treatment plan exactly. No shortcuts, no alternative suggestions, no interference. My voice hardens. I've seen too many cases go wrong because family members thought they knew better than medical professionals. Emma steps forward, tears in her eyes. Please, we'll do anything you say. She's in so much pain. Her voice breaks, and for a moment, I see the sister she could have been if Sandra hadn't poisoned everything. I turn back to Sarah, gently checking her bandages. The first surgery needs to happen within the week. I'll clear my schedule. She'll need to stay in the hospital for at least a month afterward. I hear Sandra's sharp intake of breath. She hates not being in control. I'll be overseeing everything personally. Dad speaks up from where he's been hovering in the doorway. Honey, we can't thank you enough. Don't. I cut him off, still focused on Sarah. This isn't about gratitude. This is about making sure a baby gets the care she needs. I straighten up, reaching for my medical bag. I'll have my office send over the paperwork, review it, sign it, and get it back to me by tomorrow morning. Sarah's first appointment will be at 8 a.m., sharp on Monday. As I turn to leave, Sandra stands. Wait, she says, her voice smaller than I've ever heard it. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm so... You're right, I interrupt, meeting her eyes. It doesn't change anything. See you Monday. I walk out, my head high, my scars visible, my white coat a shield of professional authority. Behind me, I hear Sarah start to cry again and Emma's desperate attempts to soothe her. 5 years ago, I left this house broken and bandaged. Today, I left it as their only hope. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. Monday arrives with a weight of memories I wasn't prepared for. As I park in my reserved space at the hospital, I catch sight of Sandra's car pulling in, the same luxury SUV she used to drive me to the emergency room that night, rehearsing our story the whole way. Remember, she'd said, her voice ice cold, if you tell them anything different, I'll make sure every college knows about your mental health issues. Sarah's screams echo through the examination room as I clean her wounds. Emma hovers anxiously while Sandra sits in the corner, uncharacteristically quiet. The burns covering Sarah's tiny body are severe, requiring the kind of intimate knowledge I wish I didn't have. Every whimper sends me back to that night, feeling the searing heat of the iron against my palms. She needs a special pressure garment, I explain, keeping my voice professional. It will help minimize scarring, but it needs to be worn 24/7. I demonstrate the proper way to apply the bandages, noticing how Sandra's hands tremble as she watches. The fabric might feel rough at first. She'll cry. You'll want to take it off, but you can't. Emma nods frantically, scribbling notes on her phone. I notice a text message pop up on her screen, something about divorce papers. So I was right about the wedding ring. Will she... Emma's voice cracks. Will she have scars like... She gestures vaguely toward my hands. With proper treatment, the scarring should be minimal, I answer, focusing on wrapping Sarah's tiny arm. But that depends entirely on following the treatment plan exactly. My eyes flick to Sandra. No shortcuts, no alternative treatments, no lies about how it happened. Sandra flinches visibly at that last part. Good. Let her remember how she made up stories about my self-harm tendencies, how she convinced everyone, even Dad, that I was unstable. How she made me wear those gloves to hide the evidence of her cruelty, turning me into a servant at my own stepsister's prom. The pressure garments reminded me of those gloves at first, I continue, carefully keeping my tone clinical. The ones you made me wear while serving punch at Emma's prom. Remember those, Sandra? White satin hiding the bandages underneath? I still have them somewhere. The room goes deadly quiet except for Sarah's whimpering. Emma looks between her mother and me, realization dawning on her face. Perhaps she's finally putting together all the pieces from that night. Why I really disappeared after prom, why I left for college so suddenly, why I never came back. I dot. Sandra starts, but I cut her off. Sarah needs to start physical therapy immediately, 3 times a week, 2-hour sessions. I write the schedule on my prescription pad. I've cleared my calendar to handle her case personally. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. No excuses, no lateness, no rescheduling. Emma clutches the prescription like a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispers. "I know we don't deserve—" "You're right, you don't," I interrupt, finally letting some emotion crack through my professional facade. "But Sarah does. She deserves the best possible care, and unfortunately for all of us, that's me." I finish bandaging Sarah's wounds, my scarred hands moving with practiced efficiency. Years of helping other burn victims have made these movements second nature. Each time Sarah whimpers, I whisper the same soothing words my first physical therapist used with me, the ones that got me through those initial painful months of recovery. "Remember," I say as they prepare to leave, "the pressure garments stay on. Even when she cries, even when it breaks your heart, even when you think you know better." I look directly at Sandra. That's what real care looks like. Not control, not punishment disguised as protection. Just unwavering support, even through the pain. Sandra stumbles slightly as she stands, aging years in moments. For the first time, I see her clearly, not as the monster of my nightmares, but as a deeply flawed woman facing the consequences of her actions through her granddaughter's suffering. "Same time Wednesday," I say, turning to update Sarah's chart. "Don't be late." They file out silently, leaving me alone with the ghost of a 16-year-old girl who once thought she deserved the pain inflicted on her. I prove her wrong every day. The physical therapy sessions become a strange kind of torture for all of us. 3 times a week, I guide Sarah through her exercises while Emma watches anxiously and Sandra sits in the corner, her perfect posture crumbling a little more each day. Today marks 2 weeks of treatment, and Sarah's cries during stretching exercises remind me of my own muffled screams into my pillow, trying not to wake Dad as my hands throbbed through the night. "She needs to move her arms more," I explain, demonstrating the exercise. "The skin will want to contract, to tighten. We can't let it." Just like I couldn't let my own hands curl into useless claws, even when every movement felt like fire. "It hurts now, but it prevents worse pain later." Emma nods, dark circles under her eyes growing deeper. "I've noticed she's lost weight, her designer clothes hanging loose. Her father's lawyers called again," she mumbles almost to herself. "He wants full custody, says I'm not capable of caring for a special needs child." I pause in my movements, remembering Emma's husband from prom night. Mark had been the only one who seemed to notice something was wrong with my hands as I served drinks. He'd tried to ask, but Sandra swooped in, spinning her tale about my attention-seeking behavior. Now he wants to take Sarah away? My jaw clenches. "The court will need medical testimony about Sarah's care requirements," I say carefully, adjusting Sarah's pressure garment. As her primary physician, my opinion would carry significant weight. I meet Emma's eyes, especially if I document the exceptional level of care and dedication her mother shows during every session. Tears well in Emma's eyes. It's the first time I've offered her any kind of support beyond strict medical care. From her corner, Sandra makes a choked sound. She knows what I'm doing, using the same kind of influence she once used against me, but this time to protect rather than harm. "I remember when you used to help me with my homework," Emma says suddenly, her voice small. Before everything went wrong, you were always so patient, explaining things until I understood. I never thanked you for that. I never thanked you for a lot of things." The memory hits me hard, sitting at the kitchen table with Emma, working through algebra problems while Sandra watched with increasingly narrow eyes. The next day, she'd banned our study sessions, claiming I was making Emma feel stupid. That was the beginning of the end, really. Sarah needs to start her stretches, I say, deflecting the attempted connection. But as I guide the baby's tiny arms through the movements, I remember other things too. How Emma once snuck me an ice pack after Sandra made me scrub the floors 3 times. How she'd tried to talk to Dad once about the chores before Sandra shut her down. I should have helped you that night, Emma whispers, watching me work. With the iron. I saw what happened, but I was too scared to say anything. Mom was so angry, and the prom was the next day, and I let you take the blame. Let you serve drinks with your hands bandaged under those gloves. I'm so sorry. Sarah whimpers as I stretch her arm, and I gentle my touch automatically. Sorry doesn't change the past, I say, but my voice has lost some of its edge. What matters is what you do now, with Sarah, with your life. Sandra shifts in her corner chair, and I catch her wiping tears from her cheeks. Good. Let her cry. Let her watch her daughter struggle with the same helplessness she once inflicted on me. Let her see what real maternal care looks like, not the twisted control she practiced, but genuine support through pain and healing. Same time Friday, I say as they prepare to leave. And Emma? She turns back, hope flickering in her eyes. Bring Sarah's medical records from the past 2 weeks. I'll review them before the custody hearing. It's not forgiveness, not exactly. But maybe it's a step towards something else. Something that helps Sarah while giving Emma a chance to be better than her mother. Sometimes healing comes in unexpected ways for all of us. My hands throb with phantom pain as I look at another photo, my last soccer game before Sandra made me quit. You know what the worst part was? I ask, still staring at the picture. It wasn't the burns. It wasn't even serving at prom. It was knowing that my own father wouldn't believe me if I told the truth. I filed for divorce last week, he says suddenly. I look up, startled. After seeing Sarah's condition, watching how Sandra reacts to her treatment, it made me finally see the pattern. How she always needs to control everything, everyone. How she turns people against each other. I couldn't stay blind anymore. Part of me wants to laugh at the irony that it took his step-granddaughter's suffering to make him see what his own daughter endured. Instead, I carefully return the photos to their envelope. Sarah's pressure garments need to be adjusted tomorrow, I say. Make sure they're here on time. He stands slowly, understanding the dismissal. At the door, he pauses. That yellow paint, it's still there, you know, under the wallpaper in your old room. I checked. He pulls something from his pocket, a small key. The house will be empty this weekend. Sandra's staying with Emma to help with Sarah. If you want to see it. I take the key, feeling its weight in my scarred palm. I have surgery schedules to review, I say, but I don't give the key back. He nods, tears finally spilling over. I'm so proud of who you've become, he whispers, even though I don't deserve to be. After he leaves, I sit in my darkening office, holding the key and thinking about yellow paint hidden beneath wallpaper, about patterns finally recognized too late, about fathers who fail their daughters and try to make amends, about healing that comes in layers, like paint under paper, like scars under skin. The house key burns in my pocket as I park in the driveway that Saturday morning. The neighborhood is quiet, weekend quiet, like it used to be when Mom was alive and we'd spend Saturdays baking cookies and reading books. Before Sandra brought her obsession with appearances and social status into our lives, I let myself in, the familiar creak of the front door hitting me like a physical blow. Empty of Sandra's controlling presence, the house feels different. Boxes line the hallway, Dad's divorce preparations, I assume. Moving through the living room, I spot gaps on the walls where family photos have been removed, leaving behind lighter patches of wallpaper. My feet carry me upstairs automatically toward my old bedroom. The door is closed, just like I left it 5 years ago when I fled to college. My hand shakes slightly as I turn the knob, and suddenly I'm 16 again, cradling burned hands and crying silently into my pillow. The room is empty now. Sandra's precious wallpaper peeling at the corners. Dad was right. There's a strip torn away near the window, revealing a splash of yellow underneath. My yellow. Mom's yellow. I run my fingers over it, remembering how we debated between Sunshine Dream and Lemon Drop at the hardware store, how Mom let me pick even though she clearly preferred the other shade. "You need to love your space," she'd said, opening the paint can. "It should make you smile every time you walk in." We spent the whole weekend painting, listening to her old records, getting more paint on ourselves than the walls. It was one of our last perfect weekends before the cancer diagnosis. I find myself pulling at the wallpaper before I realize what I'm doing. It comes away easily, age and humidity having already loosened its grip. Soon, I'm tearing at it with both hands, my scars stretching with the effort, revealing more and more yellow underneath. It's like excavating my own history, uncovering a piece of myself that Sandra tried to bury. Halfway through, I find it. The small heart Mom and I painted in the corner with our initials inside. Sandra's wallpaper didn't quite manage to erase it. My vision blurs as I trace the lines with my finger, remembering Mom's laugh as we added this secret touch. "Every room needs a little hidden love," she'd said. My phone buzzes, a text from Emma. "Sarah kept her pressure garment on all night for the first time. No crying. Thought you should know." Another buzz follows quickly. "I found my old diary." The prom night entry. "I'm so sorry. I was a coward." I sit on the floor of my old room, surrounded by torn wallpaper, reading Emma's text over and over. Above me, that little painted heart seems to pulse with Mom's memory. What would she think of all this? Of how her death led to Sandra entering our lives? Of how I've turned my pain into a career helping others? Another text arrives, this time from Dad. "Sandra's moving out next week. The house. It's yours if you want it. It was always meant to be yours. Your mother and I had it in our will. I let Sandra change everything. I'm sorry." I look around the room at the yellow walls emerging from behind Sandra's imposed facade. Mom's color choice was perfect. Even after all these years, it still makes me smile. My phone buzzes again with a photo from Emma, Sarah sleeping peacefully in her pressure garment, her tiny face relaxed for the first time in weeks. Standing up, I make a decision. I pull up my contractor's number from my recent house hunting efforts. "Hi, yes," I say when he answers. "I'd like to schedule a consultation. I have a house that needs renovating." I look at the half-revealed yellow walls, at the heart Mom and I painted. The bones are good. It just needs to be restored to what it was meant to be. Sometimes healing means tearing down what others have imposed. Sometimes it means uncovering what was there all along, beneath the layers of hurt and pain. Sometimes it means coming home. The custody hearing falls on a Wednesday, exactly 3 months into Sarah's treatment. I sit in the courtroom, medical files spread before me, watching Emma twist her hands nervously in her lap. Mark's lawyer has just finished painting her as an incompetent mother, using Sarah's burns as evidence of her inability to care for a child with special needs. When they call me to testify, I feel Sandra's eyes burning into my back as I walk to the witness stand. The irony isn't lost on me. Once again, I'm in a position where my words can either hurt or help Emma. But this time, I'm the one with the power. "Dr. Chen," Mark's lawyer begins, "as someone who specializes in pediatric burn treatment, would you say Sarah's condition requires exceptional care and attention?" His tone suggests he's expecting me to help him prove Emma unfit. I lean toward the microphone, my scars visible as I rest my hands on the stand. "Yes, it does. And I can testify that Emma has shown exceptional dedication to her daughter's treatment plan. She's never missed an appointment, has learned all the physical therapy exercises, and maintains detailed records of Sarah's progress." The lawyer frowns, shuffling his papers. "But given the complexity of the treatment, I've treated hundreds of burn cases," I interrupt, my voice firm. "Emma has demonstrated a level of commitment and capability that exceeds most parents I work with. Sarah's progress under her mother's care has been remarkable." From her seat, Emma starts crying silently. Sandra reaches for her hand, but Emma pulls away. I continue my testimony, describing in detail how Emma has learned to change bandages, apply pressure garments, and perform therapy exercises. how she keeps meticulous notes, asks informed questions, and puts Sarah's needs above everything else. And in your professional opinion, Emma's lawyer asks, what would be the impact of disrupting Sarah's current care routine? I look directly at Mark, sitting with his expensive suit and cold eyes. The same eyes that watched me serve punch at prom with bandaged hands and said nothing. It would be detrimental to her recovery. Sarah needs stability and consistency in her care. Emma provides that. Moving her to a new environment, changing her primary caregiver, it could significantly impact her healing process. The judge asks several follow-up questions about Sarah's treatment plan and progress. I answer each one with clinical precision, my medical credentials lending weight to every word. When I'm finally dismissed, I catch Sandra watching me with an unreadable expression. During the recess, I find Emma in the courthouse bathroom, splashing water on her face. "Thank you," she whispers, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "After everything I did and didn't do, you could have destroyed me in there. You could have gotten revenge for that night." I think about the torn wallpaper in my old room, about the yellow paint underneath, about Mom's lessons in kindness that even Sandra couldn't erase. Revenge doesn't heal burns, I say simply. Neither does separating a baby from a mother who's doing everything right. When the judge awards Emma full custody with supervised visitation for Mark, Sandra tries to hug me in the hallway. I step back, holding up my scarred hands like a barrier. "I didn't do it for you," I tell her. "I did it because it was right, because breaking up families doesn't help anyone. You taught me that lesson pretty thoroughly." She crumples a bit, aging years in moments. "I know," she whispers. "I know there's nothing I can say to make up for what I did, but watching you help Sarah, seeing how you've turned your pain into something healing, it makes me realize what a monster I was." "Was?" I ask quietly, and she flinches. "Am," she corrects herself, tears falling. "What I am. What I've been trying so hard not to be anymore, watching you treat Sarah with such gentleness despite everything I did to you." I look at my hands, at the scars that have become a symbol of both my pain and my healing. "Sarah's next appointment is on Friday," I say, turning to leave. "Don't be late." Sometimes justice comes not in grand gestures of revenge, but in quiet moments of choosing to be better than those who hurt us. 6 months into Sarah's treatment, I stand in my newly renovated kitchen, sipping coffee and watching the sunrise through windows that no longer have Sandra's heavy drapes. The house feels different now, lighter somehow. The walls are fresh colors I chose myself, the furniture arranged the way I want it. Mom's old recipe box sits on the counter, rescued from the back of a closet where Sandra had hidden it. My phone rings, Emma calling early. "Sarah pulled herself up in her crib last night," she says instead of hello, her voice thick with happy tears. "The physical therapy is working. She's getting stronger." There's a pause, then. "Mom moved out yesterday. She's starting therapy next week." I run my fingers over the smooth countertop, thinking about strength and healing and the different forms they take. "That's good," I say, surprising myself by meaning it. The renovation crew found Mom's old wind chimes in the attic yesterday, and now they hang outside my kitchen window, their gentle tinkling filling the morning air. "Mark signed away his parental rights," Emma continues. "After you testified, after he saw how much work Sarah's care really takes, he said he couldn't handle it." She laughs bitterly. "Remember how he used to talk about wanting 6 kids? Funny how quickly that changed when one of them needed extra care." I think about the Mark I knew from high school who watched me struggle with burned hands at prom and did nothing, about how people show you who they really are when things get difficult. "Sarah deserves better," I say. "She has better. Because of you," Emma says softly. "Not just the medical care, but everything. Standing up for us in court, showing me how to be strong for her. Teaching me that love isn't about control or appearances, it's about being there through the hard parts." My coffee has gone cold, but I barely notice. Through the window, I can see the garden Mom and I used to tend together. I've started clearing it out, planning to plant her favorite flowers next spring. "I learned that from Mom," I tell Emma, "before Sandra came and tried to teach us differently." "I found pictures," Emma says suddenly. From before, when you used to help me with homework and we'd share music, and I was so stupid letting her convince me that controlling everything was the same as caring. Watching you with Sarah, seeing how gentle you are even after everything, it's teaching me what real love looks like. The wind chimes tinkle again, and for a moment, I swear I can smell Mom's favorite coffee cake. The recipe is in that box on the counter. Maybe it's time to try making it again. Sarah's pressure garments need adjusting, I say, changing the subject. Bring her in early today and we'll do a full evaluation. Dad mentioned you're renovating the house, Emma says. He said Mom cried when she saw you'd uncovered the yellow paint in your old room. Said she finally understood what she'd tried to destroy. I look around my kitchen. My kitchen, not Sandra's anymore. The morning light catches the crystals Mom used to hang in the window, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the walls. Sometimes, I say slowly, you have to tear everything down to build it back right. Like healing burns, Emma says, layer by layer. Yeah, I agree, thinking about scarred hands and yellow paint and wind chimes in the morning light. About how Mom used to say that broken things, when mended with care, could become stronger at the broken places. Like healing burns. After we hang up, I open Mom's recipe box and find the coffee cake recipe. The card is worn, stained with vanilla extract and memories. As I gather ingredients, I think about healing, how it comes in unexpected ways, how it requires both gentleness and strength, how sometimes it means rebuilding everything from the ground up. The wind chimes sing, and somewhere in the music I hear Mom's laugh. Some things, once uncovered, can never be hidden again. 1 year to the day after Sarah's first treatment, I stand in my garden, watching her toddle between the flower beds I've replanted with Mom's favorites. Her scars are barely visible now, just faint lines that will fade more with time. She squeals with delight as she discovers a butterfly, her tiny hands that can move freely now thanks to months of therapy, reaching toward it. Emma sits on the porch steps, looking more peaceful than I've seen her in months. She started taking classes at the local college, studying to become a physical therapy assistant. I want to help other families, she told me last week, like you helped us. Dad is here too, grilling in the backyard like he used to before everything changed. He's different now, softer somehow, more present. He asks questions and actually listens to the answers. Last month, he helped me hang Mom's old wind chimes all around the garden. Their gentle music fills the air as Sarah plays. Sandra isn't here, and that's okay. She's still in therapy, still working through her need to control everything and everyone around her. Sometimes she sends cards for Sarah, simple ones without the expensive gifts and elaborate demands that used to characterize her affection. Last week, she sent me one too. Inside was a single key, the one to her precious china cabinet where she used to lock away Mom's old dishes. They were meant to be used, she wrote, not hidden away. I'm pulling weeds when I feel a tug on my gardening apron. Sarah stands there, holding a slightly crushed daisy. For you, she says, her speech clear and strong, another victory we weren't sure she'd achieve. I take the flower with my scarred hands, remembering how these same hands guided her through countless therapy sessions, changed countless bandages, wiped countless tears. Thank you, sweetheart, I say, tucking the daisy behind her ear instead. She giggles and runs back to her butterfly chase, her movements uninhibited by pain or fear. Emma watches from the steps, and I see tears in her eyes. You know, she says as I join her on the porch, I found my old diary from high school last week. Reading it now, I can't believe how blind I was, how I let Mom turn me into someone who could watch my stepsister suffer and do nothing. I look at my hands, at the scars that have become less a reminder of pain and more a badge of survival. We were all blind in different ways, I say. The important thing is learning to see clearly. Dad calls us for dinner, and we gather around the patio table, the one Mom and I used to have Sunday brunches at, the one Sandra had banished to the garage. Sarah sits in her special chair, proudly showing off how she can hold her own fork now. Emma helps her cut her food, demonstrating the patience she's learned through months of being Sarah's primary caregiver. As we eat, I think about the past year, about how healing rarely looks the way we expect it to. Sometimes it comes through helping others. Sometimes it comes through standing up for what's right. Sometimes it comes through letting go of the need for revenge and finding something better. Justice, maybe, or growth. The wind chimes sing their gentle song as the sun sets, casting long shadows across Mom's flowers. Sarah has fallen asleep in her chair, her face peaceful, her scars catching the fading light. Emma gently wipes sauce from her daughter's cheek, her touch confident and loving. Dad watches them with tears in his eyes, finally seeing what real family looks like. I run my fingers over my scars one last time, feeling their familiar texture. They don't hurt anymore. Haven't for a long time now. Instead, they remind me of everything I've become. A healer, a survivor, someone who chose to turn pain into purpose. The iron that burned my hands was meant to break me. Instead, it forged me into something stronger. Like Sarah's scars, like this house, like this garden. Some things, when healed with love and care, become more beautiful for having been broken. As the stars begin to appear above us, I listen to the wind chimes' music and smile. Mom would be proud of the garden we've grown from the ashes of what was burned away.